Mike Long, this is a really nice car. I'm walking around. In fact, we don't normally do black cars because the details sometimes don't play that well on the camera, but this car is so striking, I had to have it on the show. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
How did this come about?
Well, we found the roller from a guy that runs an outfit called Valley Hot Rods out of Oregon. And he basically built a rolling chassis, and we kind of fell in love with it, and because it was a blank slate, and it gave us the ability to do everything we wanted to do. So the whole goal behind this car was to try to recreate a vintage look of how it would actually have been done in the late 40s, early 50s, yet have something reliable that we can really enjoy and go out and drive and have a good time in at the same time.
The black, red, and white really works well together, and the pinstriping is really good. Who did that for you?
That's Bob Davidson.
Bob Davidson, okay.
Yes, indeed.
What's the power plant?
327 Chevy.
Okay, with tri-power.
It's got a tri-power in it. That's done by Auto Motion. They did a real nice job building it for me. Of course, we had everything color-coded. We painted everything to match so that it would, have that whole theme. That's kind of how they did it. And, in the day, they didn't have a lot of chrome. Money was tight, so everything was done. And then to highlight it, that's where the little bits of pinstriping and things come in, and that gives it its own personality. So that's what we were shooting for there.
Driving this down the road, is it handled really well and takes care of?
It handles very well. Everything is as vintage as I could possibly put, but at the same time, it's all, everything is safe and late model. In other words, vintage parts, but that were produced and produced right, so that it drives good, it stops good. It's got the old Buick vintage brake system. That's what it looks like, but inside's disc brakes.
Right.
So it was built to be reliable. We take it everywhere. We've already got 5,000 miles on this car. We've had it about 3 years, and we drive it to Eastern Washington. We go to Spokane. It was at Cool Desert Nights. We take our chances sometimes because there's absolutely no top. But it's a driver, and we drive it all the time.
You say we. You got a good woman along with you, huh?
My wife Trina, absolutely.
All right. This looks like it rolled out of the middle of one of the little books, an old Rod and Custom or whatever, and when you pick up those old magazines, some of the cars now look ridiculous. Some from back then look perfect then, they look perfect now, which this falls into that category. What is it about the design that where some of them look dopey 10 years later and some of them look perfect 60 years later?
It has to do with a timeless look. The body itself has a timeless look. And the guys that were building, these types of rods back in the day, you couldn't go out and buy the parts, so you had to manufacture them, you had to build them, you had to think outside the box. And I grew up around that. My dad was a hot rodder, so I grew up from as young as I can remember. I was around cars, and I watched how everybody did it in the day. My dad raced midgets, so I'm from old school stuff, and it's a challenge to build anything old school these days because it's hard to find the parts. A lot of this stuff is vintage. The tank on the front is an original Moon tank from the 50s. I looked for literally years to find that, and it cost me an arm and a leg, but it just has a look to it that the repops don't have. You got to kind of be able to feel what it was like back in those days.
Well, your Moon tank, your Deuce radiator shell, the 27 body, the open wheels, the red rims, you have just really nailed it. So thank you very much for being on the Vintage Vehicle Show.
Thank you.
And giving the viewers a taste of some real quality build.
I really appreciate that.
All right, thank you.